Hello and welcome to The Verdicts. I'm Riley Beveridge, and joining me as he does every Monday afternoon is Match Review Officer Michael Christian. Chriso, how are you?
Riley, very well, thanks.
Good to hear. Now we'll get to the big story of the week. Gary Ablett, he was suspended for one match for striking Essendon's Dylan Shield. The first suspension of his career. Can you talk us through it?
Well, first consideration is, of course, conduct, and the guidelines talk about the fact that a raised forearm is usually consistent that a strike is intentional. And you can see Gary jumping off the ground and making contact with his forearm to the side of Dylan's head. So that was the reason it was graded intentional. Then it's a question of impact, and considering all the evidence around impact, it was certainly assessed as low impact.
Can you talk us through how much weight was put onto the first point of contact, which was that sort of the palm to the face, and then the second when he came through? Can you talk us how much you thought you put into that?
Yeah, so what we do need to establish is that there's sufficient force, head-high contact, sufficient force in the hit to the head, and that's what we were able to establish considering all the evidence.
Now, Brisbane forward Eric Hipwood, he was fined $2,000 for what looked like a similar action, but obviously in a different context. Can you talk us through the differences between them?
The difference is that Gary's incident was after Dylan had disposed of the ball. This is in a marking contest, so right up until the last second, Eric has his eye on the ball, and it's a careless and clumsy attempt to spoil, and that's why it's graded careless, despite the fact that both had raised forearms. One was in the motion of trying to spoil, and one was after the player had got rid of the ball.
Western Bulldogs forward Billy Gowers, he was fined $1,000 for headbutting Dylan Grimes on the weekend. Can you talk us through this one? Yeah,
so you can see a bit of head movement back from Billy Gowers right there. So it was certainly looked at. There was insufficient force to get to the classifiable table. We didn't like the action, and that's why it was fined under the misconduct provisions.
Now, there were a couple over the weekend that were assessed but cleared of any punishment. Shannon Hearn was one of them for this bump on Josh Corbett. Can you talk us through what he did right in this instance?
Well, what he did right is he ran through the line of the ball. He had his hands on the ball at the same time the contact was made. And under the provisions, if you're contesting the ball and had no realistic alternative way to contest the ball, then it's okay. And that's, in our opinion, exactly what Shannon did in that situation.
And Cam Zurhaar, he was involved in this incident with Liam Jones. It left Jones with a severe concussion. Can you talk us through why he was cleared?
Well, in a similar situation, Cameron has his eyes on the ball right until the last second. You can see that he shapes to take the mark. And unfortunately for Liam, it's just one of those unfortunate situations. There's nothing unreasonable that Cameron was doing in that situation. He was trying to mark the ball, and it's just unfortunately one of those unfortunate collisions.
Well, that's The Verdict, brought to you by Maurice Blackburn. Michael, thanks for your time this week.
Riley.
And don't forget, for all of the latest match review news, you can keep clicking back to afl.com.au and the AFL Live app.